what Nandi shared. I just feel so grateful, God. I don't know what this ministry would look like without Nandi. And getting a chance the last summer to be in Prague together with the team and just watch her faith and watch just the journey that you've taken her on over the last few years and just her whole life, God, just been absolutely extraordinary. God, I pray that there will be people like Nandi was a few years ago in this room tonight that just need to kind of go make that plunge. They need to say, you know what? The life that I was living wasn't doing it for me. I really need to go all in for God and just watch Him do extraordinary things in my life. And God, I pray you bless people's faithful decisions to do that. And God, I pray for tonight. I pray that we can learn from Peter and his words to people scattered all throughout that geographic region at the time, and that we can learn some things today, 2,000 years later. I pray that we walk away tonight making some great decisions for our life to fall humbly before you and just to submit ourselves to the Master, to the amazing King we have in you, God. Dad, thank you so much for this room and all that we get to do. You're amazing. In your son's name we pray. Amen. All right, guys, turn to 1 Peter chapter 5.
Let's go, Nick.
Hey, I got a question. What is your favorite Disney movie of all time?
Tarzan.
Coming out. It doesn't have Mushu though. There's
Hercules.
Anything is anything but Hercules, you're wrong.
Phil said a goofy movie. All I remember was goofy is like the man and cheese. Alright? Anybody else remember that?
Oh, so disgusting.
These guys and cheese. Anytime I see cheese in Canada, pretty awesome. Alright, anybody else? Toya? Brings it Egypt. Okay, that's where you Christian kids grew up.
Where's the Egypt, bro? That's Egypt.
Yeah. So guys, tonight we're going to have a little bit of a Disney theme. You guys heard that? We're going to have a little bit of a Disney theme. It's called Your Lion King. Alright? 1 Peter chapter 5 is the very end of 1 Peter 5, or the end of 1 Peter. For those of you guys that are brand new here, that haven't been here before, our theme, ironically enough, is brand new. And so welcome. Brand new is great, but we've been talking the whole semester about how do we live a brand new life with Jesus. Because if you kind of like what Nandi was saying, if you've interacted with Jesus, then your life is going to look a lot different than it did before. And it's going to be completely brand new. So we've been going through this book of 1 Peter, and we're here in 1 Peter chapter 5. We might be looking at this like, Nick, that's the last chapter. We have a few more weeks of the semester, and we do. So we're going to go here, and then maybe kind of go back to some other spots in 1 Peter that we thought would be really good at the end of the semester as well. But hopefully you've gotten a chance to read 1 Peter at this point. Again, it takes only like 10 minutes to read if you read, it's 4 pages long. So go ahead and get a chance to read that. But we're going to start here in 1 Peter 5, starting in verse 1. It says, to the elders among you, I appeal as a fellow elder and a witness of Christ's sufferings, who also will share in the glory to be revealed. Listen to what he says to the shepherds there. He says, to the elders, he says, be shepherds of God's flock that is under your care, watching over them, not because you must, but because you are willing, as God wants you to be, not pursuing dishonest gain, but eager to serve, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being an example to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the crown of glory that will never fade away. So Peter right here is kind of in his old age, and he's talking to like all the God's people scattered around the whole area of the time. And he says to the leaders there, he says, hey, elders of the people. And I don't necessarily think he means just old people, right? He means people that are taking care of God's people there. He says, hey, be great shepherds of the people that you've been in charge of. And it says, your leadership should look so much different than the leadership of the world. Where he says, hey, do not lord it over people. Do not think that you're better than somebody else. Don't do it because you have to do it. Do it because you are eager to serve, because you love doing it, because you're like, I love these people, and these people are amazing. And then it says, be great examples of the people that you're trying to lead. And I love that. The leadership in the Bible is so much different than any other leadership you'll see across the planet. And I love looking at Jesus, the greatest leader of all time. Peter was Jesus' like right-hand guy, one of his best friends. Peter knew what it was like to be a follower, what it looked like to follow a master leader. We're actually not going to look at this passage as much tonight, but I just kind of wanted to like throw it out there. We need more leaders in the campus ministry. We need more people that are going to be aspiring to be leaders in this ministry. That aren't just going to be spectators and kind of hang out and kind of get fed all the time, but people that are like, no, I want to go make a difference in this ministry. I want to go out there and I want to help the people in this room. I don't want to just be helped all the time. I want to go out there, I want to help other people. Like, there's a lack in our society of strong young leaders. Right. In this campus ministry, I wish there were more people coming up to me on a daily, weekly basis saying, Nick, what can I do to become a leader in this campus ministry? I want to do anything just to serve. I love that idea of being eager to serve. Not like, oh, I want this some amazing title, but no, I'm so eager to serve. And I wish I had more people coming up to me, come to Jordan, Toya, Marie, saying, man, I'm just eager to serve. Put me somewhere where I can serve God's people and really make a difference. I want to be a leader. I want to be a leader like Jesus was. I think we need so many more people like that.
Yeah.
That's just a side note. We're not going to talk about that very much, and so we're going to keep going. Sound good?
Come on, bro.
Great point.
Here we go. Let's keep going. Here's our first point. It's going to be you remember who you are. And we're talking about right here humility. All right. Remember who you are. We're going to talk a little about humility. Let's read in verse 5. I guess I didn't have it up there. Verse 5 says, in the same way, you who are younger, submit yourselves to your elders. Remember we talked about that word submit last week? Jordan Latoya did a great job talking about how that doesn't need to be a scary word because we're all trying to submit to God.
Yep.
And so when you're trying to submit to people that are under your care, he just got on people, right, that were telling like who the shepherds were. He's saying, hey, if you're going to be a leader, you better be like Jesus. You better be somebody that's a great example, somebody that's eager to serve, somebody that loves their sheep. Then he says, hey, in the same way, those that are following them, those that are younger, watch those kind of people. Take their example and submit to their leadership. He says, but all of you, no matter who you are, clothe yourselves with humility towards one another, because God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. You know, humility, sometimes we kind of hear that word. I don't know what that kind of does inside of you, right? But if you were just to kind of ask the question, like, you know, someone to come up to you and say, man, how humble are you? I don't know how you feel right there. You kind of, that's like, this is a trap. You know, like, I don't know what to say right there, right? Or how about this? How about if you're getting with some of the people that are close to you in your life, and I went up to some of the main people in your life and said, hey, how humble is Owen Rouse, right? How humble is Harrison Williams, right? How humble is that person? I don't know. You'd probably be kind of scared of what people would kind of say about that. Yeah. And humility, I think, especially in our culture today, can have this like really kind of like soft word. And it's kind of like when we think of people that are humble, or we think of humility, we're thinking of Jesus like petting a sheep, you know? We're thinking of like someone that's kind of lowly, someone that's just kind of like a doormat. He's kind of walk over them. Humility is one of the strongest words in the entire Bible. Jesus was the strongest man to ever exist. He endured more pain, more intense hardship, more suffering than basically anybody else on the planet, yet he was probably the most humble man that ever existed. Humility and strength, they go hand in hand. And I'm telling you right now, what's really scary, what does God say right here? Any idea, like, what, if you're kind of thinking about kind of sin in the world, what sins do you hate the most? Right? Just kind of think about that one. You're probably going to go to the really dramatic ones, right? That are like just terrible kind of things. Right? You think about things like sex trafficking, right? Or abuse of children, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, there's terrible things out there. What does it say that God hates? In Proverbs chapter 8, we see this. It says, all who fear the Lord will hate evil. Therefore, I hate pride and arrogance, corruption and perverse speech. Proverbs 16 says, the Lord detests the proud. They will surely be punished. Whoa. That is intense right there. Yeah. There's not many things that it says that God hates this. Right. But it says that God hates pride. Come on, Nick. It says that God opposes the proud. Are you like, we always kind of think like, God doesn't oppose anybody. He loves everybody, doesn't he? No, I mean, right here, Peter is saying God opposes the proud.
Right.
He opposes you. So if you're somebody that's kind of like sitting in your pride and you're kind of a prideful person, guess what? It says God opposes you. That is terrifying. Right. That the Almighty God would actually oppose you in your life and your decisions. Then it says, but then he does what? Right? He shows grace. He shows favor to the humble. Other translations say that he extends grace to the humble. Which means that if you are prideful, it means that you are literally kind of stopping God from giving you grace. And you are not allowing God to give you grace. Saying, God, I really want grace. I want him to go be prideful. Right? And say, okay, then I'm going to oppose you. And it's not like he's going and punishing you. It's because if you live in a prideful way, you're literally just kind of like, none of Jesus' teachings are really going to help you, really make sense to you. And you're going to be living kind of in direct opposition. And so we got to figure out, like, everybody has to deal with pride, right? Like, a couple of weeks ago, me and Bree were kind of at somebody's house getting counseling in our marriage, right? That we could try to go to really consistently, just to kind of get help and get some eyes and advice in our marriage. And I was kind of telling him some things that I kind of been feeling, and frustrated with some things, kind of things that I wasn't doing great at. He looks at me kind of after a little bit and he says, okay. He says, Nick, that's pride. And we're going to have to kind of figure that one out. I was like, yeah, you're right. You know, I knew that I was that way, but I needed someone just to kind of tell me right to my face. You know what I'm saying? All of us deal with pride. Doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 2 days. Doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 50 years. We all deal with pride.
Yeah, right.
Come on, Nick.
And it's the epidemic of the entire generation. We got to figure out how do we really learn to be humble? How do we learn to ruthlessly eliminate pride out of our lives? We can learn a lot from Peter and from Jesus and what they have to share with us. I like that when he says, clothe yourself with humility, right? What do you think it looks like to kind of clothe yourself with humility? I think you put on some more clothes today, right? Didn't you? Kind of going outside, put on a little bit extra clothes, got maybe with the beanie on, kind of looking really good down here, right? You got like, you're putting on some extra clothes, right? You're kind of going on. Imagine if you just kind of like, nah, I'm just gonna go out naked. You know, like, probably wouldn't go awesome for you. Get a couple, you find yourself online somewhere probably or something like that, right? Like, you probably, like, imagine kind of going on without your clothes on outside. That's what he's saying right here with humility. He's saying it's kind of like you going on outside into the world without humility is like you going out in the world without your clothes on. He's like, you gotta clothe yourself with humility. Be fully enveloped with humility. That there should not be a decision that you make that doesn't involve humility in there. Where you're like not being humble towards something. Where you're not walking out the door saying, I'm ready to be humble today. If you're not ready to be humble that day, then it says that what? God opposes you that day. Whoa, I mean, it's just intense stuff that Peter's kind of dishing out right here.
Good stuff, Nick.
Go, Nick.
So what we're going to talk about tonight is kind of like, we're going to look at 3 different relationships about where we can be humble in, okay? And the first one is going to be talking about how to be humble with those that are more mature than you, right? Because it talks about here, hey, submit to your elders. Your elders aren't just people that are old, right? They're just people that are like more mature and older than you are. I think a good question to ask yourself is, how have I been doing being humble with those that are more mature that are trying to help me in my life? We all have people in our lives really that are trying to help us. How are we doing just being humble with those kind of people? Have I been humble with them lately? Because guess what? They don't have to help you. You know what I'm saying? Like we kind of go around, especially those of you guys have been in the ministry for a long time. You can kind of like we try to help everybody in here. Kind of have people kind of pair up, have people that they're just talking about their life with, and have people that are trying to help. And I always see like complaints about these kind of things happening all the time, or gossip, or like slander, or kind of like, oh, this just stinks. I'm like, they don't have to help you. Right. It's a gift that you guys get a chance to have people in your life that are trying to help you out. Yeah. And for you to just kind of sit there and talk badly about these kind of people, or even kind of like not be grateful for what you get, I think it's just like a slap in the face. I mean, you don't necessarily deserve to have that person come and help you. I think we need to kind of be a lot more grateful for those that are trying to help us in our life.
Good stuff, Nick.
What would it look like for you to humble yourself? Like if you're maybe kind of like struggling with some of that stuff, what would it look like today to go humble yourself before those people in your life? You know, for a lot of us I know in here that we've been kind of, maybe that we're kind of brand new to this ministry. We've been having somebody kind of sit down with us and really read the Bible with us, kind of teach us some things about the scriptures. And that might be kind of weird for those of you that just kind of never experienced that before. You're like, I don't know who you are, thinking that you're all better than me, trying to kind of teach me all these kind of things, right? But it's so easy sometimes to kind of feel like, just to kind of put up these walls of people that are really trying to help us. Because when people are trying to help you, they're gonna kind of go into those little dirty spots kind of in your life. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to get in there, and it's gonna feel kind of, are you trying to limit me? Are you trying to like kind of, are you trying to, force me to do kind of certain things? And I think we just gotta say, okay, let me just first of all be grateful that someone is even kind of willing to take out the time to help me. And how if I was gonna go up to this person and say, hey, how can I just have a humble spirit with this person? How can I just sit there and just say, okay, please humbly teach me what you know? I think there's been many times where people try to come and they have a strong opinion about something that they heard on the internet, right? But they haven't actually, like I've been studying this thing for 10 years straight, and they're like, but we don't want to listen to you, I'm gonna listen to this random thing I found on the internet for a while. I'm like, just listen, or some of the older men in the church that I go to that are so disrespected, because of the amazing amount of wisdom that they have, yet a lot of us don't even ask. And I'm like wondering, like, does this generation even really want to be taught things anymore? You know what I'm saying? It's easy to go to class these days. You go to class and you kind of sit there in your class and school, unfortunately, a lot of times becomes extremely boring and you just go and kind of look at some slides and then leave. And I think what it does in us is it teaches us to not really enjoy learning from somebody. And we kind of look at it as a duty, something that's more just kind of like we have to do it as opposed to, oh my goodness, I get to learn from somebody right here. And sitting there as a learner, as somebody who's humble and who's willing to be taught. Jesus, we don't know much about Jesus when he was younger, but we know this. It says when he was 12 years old, after 3 days, he was lost from his parents for a while. They found him in the temple court, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking questions. I don't know how many questions you ask on a daily basis. Or like, I get a lot of people kind of on a weekly basis. I'm wondering like, how many people actually come with questions to kind of ask? Or they come in, all right, Nick, do something for me, Or like, I know my cousin Tom out in Paris, he's kind of helping lead a whole campus ministry in Europe. And he says that he goes to some older people in his church, and he says he comes with 10 questions every single time. And usually he knows the answer to about 8 of those questions, but he comes with them just for the sake of humility. Just to say, I still want to learn, because I don't ever want to think that I just know everything already. Especially for college students, we don't know anything, okay? We know nothing, especially about the deep parts of life. And so for you guys to come in and kind of not have any questions about these kind of things, or to read the Bible, like there's a lot of times where we kind of, somebody reads the Bible for a long time and says, oh, do you have any questions about the whole entire book of Luke that you read? Like, no. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that you weren't actually kind of trying to pay attention to learn something, that you're more just kind of reading, you're trying to have these entertainment, We need people that are going asking for advice like all the time. Saying like, I have no idea how to do things. I might know how to do this a little bit, but I need your advice. Help me, give me some advice. It might be something to do this week with someone that's helping you in your life. You come with 2 questions and 2 things you want to get advice on, right? I think if you did that, it would totally and completely transform your life.
The practicals.
Sometimes I think it's weird. I think a lot of us are fighting harder to be right than we are fighting harder to be humble. And that is a scary, scary place. We fight and scratch and claw to have our way be heard and to have us be right, but we don't fight for the same way with humility. It doesn't say that God opposes the wrong. It says that God opposes the prideful, those that are proud. It says that he doesn't lift up those that necessarily have all the right answers. He lifts up those that are humble. I would so much rather have somebody that's really extremely humble and has 0 right answers than someone that has all the right answers but is extremely proud. You guys know those people that think they know everything? They're just the worst people to hang out with all the time. You know what I'm saying? Because no one likes hanging out with some of those prideful kind of people.
Come on, Nick.
All right.
Come on, Nick. Good stuff.
Those that are more mature than you, to me, the next one is with each other. How do you doing with humility towards each other? This says, hey, clothe yourselves with humility towards each other, with each other, right? What would that look like, you guys think? Just kind of talk for a second. Like, what do you think it would look like in this room if we were to be humble with each other? What would that look like? None?
I think being able to come to one another and ask questions or ask oh, I remember you saying you studied this one thing out. Help me learn from that too. What did you learn in this time?
Totally. Yeah.
Not being afraid to admit you don't understand something, to kind of develop oh, I should know this by now or something like that, but being willing to talk to people about that.
Yeah, that's great. All right.
Asking people what they see.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if everybody heard that, but it's kind of like when ask that question. Because no one's gonna be like, dude, nothing, you're perfect, right? Like, they're always gonna, even if they don't know, they're gonna come up with something, and then I'm like, all right, you just came up with that on the spot. You know what I'm saying? That's like, anyway, Chase.
Not coming to someone with preconceived notions of who you are, just another human.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest, like, I hate gossip because that's what gossip does. Where you know that person where you've like kind of, someone said something bad about somebody else, you haven't met that person, but then you go and you like automatically think bad about that person just because somebody else said something bad. When you come with these preconceived notions, that's like, it tears apart relationships. It's so true. Derek?
I think we'd be able to take criticism more easily because if you're humble in the first place, then when somebody comes to you and you're like, this is something really intense, but I think it's really, you need to take this seriously. I think even if we didn't accept it immediately, we'd at least take it to heart.
Yep, totally. Yeah, I think, I mean, a lot of it is, I don't know how much with your friends you're kind of quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, right? Where I don't know how often, I mean, maybe just kind of count how many times that you ask a question versus how many times they ask you questions, right? How much you talk versus how many times you ask questions. Or how many times you actually give your friends the benefit of the doubt when something kind of didn't seem right. Or how many times you just go when you're feeling something with somebody, you don't talk about it with 3 other people first before you go out and talk to that person about it, right? Gossip and slander and complaining towards other people and having those little rifts with each other is one of the biggest destroyers of family. We cannot have that in our family ministry. It's just not going to work. So we have to have humility with each other. And how's your humility with God?
Bro.
That's the thing that's going to drive everything else.
That's right.
That's the thing that's really going to drive everything else. Let's just think for a minute. When we talk about humility, do you understand who God is and then who you are? Okay? Because it is not a comparison. There's God, okay, who's who He is, who created the world in a word. Who thunder and lightning storms, right? The mountains, the incredible oceans that knows every thought in your head before you think it. That has been around for all of existence. That knows everything that's ever happened on this planet. There's Him, and then there's you, okay? There's you. This little tiny measly human being that's going to be around here for like 2 seconds and you're gone, okay? Who are we ever to think that we are on par with God?
Right.
Humility starts with knowing who you are and then knowing who God is. Because really when you kind of know, when you stand before God, and you're like, you're just in His presence for a minute, you're like, oh no. Like, I'm talking to God right now. Every time somebody came in contact with God in the Bible, they almost died. Because that's just who God is. They come in the presence of God, their first thought is, oh, I'm dead. You know, because that's the only thought you can have when you came in the presence of God. God was on top of a mountain. They said, you cannot even touch the mountain or you're going to die. That's who God is. And we approach Him with so much just kind of like, oh, hey, what's up, God? How you doing? You know, or I might try to follow you, God, or God, your ways seem kind of cool, but I'm going to go this way and stuff like that. We got to understand who is God and who are we. You know, one of my favorite like scenes of all time is this scene, right?
Sweetie, hands off the glass.
That's not my father. It's just my reflection.
No.
You see, he lives in you. Simba. Father? Simba, you have forgotten me. No. How could I? You have forgotten who you are, so forgotten me. Look inside yourself, Simba. You are more than what you have become. You must take your place in the circle of life.
How can I go back? I'm not who I used to be.
Remember who you are. You are my son, and the one true king.
No, please, don't leave me. Father! Don't leave me.
Anybody see the new Lion King?
Yeah.
So I mean, me and Anne-Marie were talking about this before. You can't compare both. If you go in trying to be the same as the original, you're like already losing the battle right there. You know what I'm saying? It's not as good as the first one, right? But it is kind of cool. But we watched it with the Matthew when it came out, and we left, and I was like, you know, we just kind of asked, what do you guys think? And one of the things that Jordan said is like, you know, one of the things that was really deep to me, he's like, is that when you remember who you are, everything else kind of takes care of itself. And then you're able to go back and really do all the work. Before, what was Simba before that? For you guys seen the movie, he's timid, he's scared, he's off by himself, he's not connected to any of his people, he's off just trying to say, hey, no worries, I don't care, I'm just going to live life my own way. Then when he truly remembers who he is, and goes back, remembers who is inside of him, remembers that he was made in Mufasa's image, you know. It says that he runs back, right? It's that sprint that he runs back. He takes on Scar. Epic. I mean, you ever seen it? You haven't seen it? It's terrible. But guys, so much of life. I know a lot of you guys are in a lot of different spots right now. Some of you guys are feeling really great about life. Some of you guys it's been a really challenging semester. And it's been really tough. Some of you are trying to make these big decisions and you're scared, you don't really know how to do it. Some of you have been kind of like really disconnected from God for a long time. And you're wondering if you need to kind of go back there, but you're a little bit too scared to do it. I just want to encourage you, remember who you are.
That's right.
Remember who God created you to be. Remember that you were made in his image. That who God is, that we just talked about, he said, I'm going to stuff all of that and stuff it in this kind of in this human right here. And you are extraordinary. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Go act on that. Go be dangerous in this world. Go be bold in this world. Go do epic stuff for God because he's with you. He walks with you. He lives inside you. Rock on. Go do it. Take on the world. And God's going to do something extraordinary, right? You got to remember who you are. But sometimes the flip side of that is, hey, you got to remember who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you look at who God is, and you think that you're something with that, you got to remember who you are.
Yeah.
You are nothing. Okay? It's kind of a dichotomy. God says you're amazing, but you're only amazing because God says you're amazing. By yourself, you are nothing. You're nothing. But because you walk with God, because God formed you and made you, you are extraordinary.
That's right.
But sometimes, in terms of humility, we just got to remember, okay, I am not God. I'm not a 45-year-old grown adult that's gotten this thing figured out for a long time, right? I need to remember who I am and really go back to really just kind of get my own, just being humble. I love what Simba does at the very end right there, because then Mufasa starts going away, and because he kind of remembered who he was right there, he's like, where are you going? Where are you going? I can't do this by myself. And he kind of gets scared because Mufasa's leaving again. The amazing thing about God that he's with us the entire time. We don't have to be scared when we remember, man, we're like, God, I can't do this without you. I love what it says when it says, hey, cast all your anxieties on God. Because humility and anxiety actually have a lot to do with each other. When right here, when he's saying, hey, like, be humble before God, and remember who God is, like, humble yourself, and God will lift you up under his mighty hand, he's really saying, like, hey, trust me with your life. Yeah. Don't think you can do this on your own. Yeah. I got a secret for you, okay? You cannot carry all the anxieties and burdens in your life by yourself. You can't do it. You need God. And so many of us try to say, no, I got this, God. Step out of the way. This is mine. I got it all the way. I don't need you. I don't need anybody else. I don't need to come to church. I don't need to read the Bible. I can kind of figure it out on my own. As long as I'm feeling connected to you, as long as my feelings are on straight, as long as I'm just kind of being a good person, I'm good. No, God's saying, no, you need me. You're dependent on me. And the minute that we forget that we're dependent on God, that every breath we take in our lungs is from God. That you don't breathe unless God says you breathe. That any minute He could take away your breath. And we're like, no, God, we don't want you. We're going to go do our own thing. Like, no, remember who you are. Remember who God made you to be. Remember who gave you the breath and life that you have in your body. I think that helps wipe away so many of our anxieties and fears. You know, sometimes I get a little bit scared of our generation because I feel like there's a strong lack of reverence for God's word. And I talk to a lot of people, and I just don't see, like, I just hear over and over again, oh, I forgot to read, you know, the last couple of days, or I just didn't really feel like it was good kind of reading, or, oh yeah, I read it, but I didn't really get a lot out of it. I'm like, man, where is the reverence gone for God's words? And I think we need to get back to, like, just falling in love with the Bible. Mastering it. Becoming a master, because these are literally God's words to you to help you figure out your life. And you're like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of like, it doesn't really entertain me. I'm like, you just missed the point then. You don't totally get it. We got to become masters of God's words. I love my mom because my mom says that what she'll do a lot is she'll go out for a prayer walk and she'll spend the first 20 minutes just casting her anxieties on God. And so she'll kind of talk about all the things she's frustrated about, all the things that are kind of bugging her, all the things she's worried about, and she'll just take 20 minutes to cast them on God. And the next 20 minutes, she'll take 20 minutes to thank God. And I just kind of try to go out and do that in my own life, and it totally radically changed my prayer life. Right, I just kind of went out there and I say, God, I'm just going to cast everything on you. Everything that I'm feeling, I'm just kind of putting on you. It's not mine to hold, it's yours. I'm going to give it to you, and now I'm just going to go and thank God. I think we don't cast on God enough. We cast on other things. We cast on Netflix, right? We're like, we're feeling a lot, we're feeling anxiety, we're feeling tired, we're feeling burdened, so we're like, I'm going to go veg out. We cast it on complaining about how hard life is. And how much, man, nobody else has my life, they don't know how hard it is for me. And we cast other people in complaints. We don't actually go to God and cast what we're feeling, right? We cast it in so many other things. We kind of hide it in school. We hide it in kind of the sports that we're playing and stuff like that. We cast it on so many things that will not give you life. Because those things can't handle your burdens. Because those burdens are still there. The only thing that can take away the anxieties of your life is really casting it to God. If you're feeling anxious in life right now, if you're feeling worried, if you're feeling like kind of burdened and burnt out, then to me, you haven't cast it on God enough. You need to get out on a prayer walk tonight and just go and cast it to God for a while. You go pray to God and fall on your face and say, God, I'm humble before you. I know that I can't take a breath without you sustaining me. Help me just to cast all my anxieties on you. I totally trust and depend on you. I think if you do that, so many of the problems you're facing right now, in terms of like your attitude towards them, are going to completely change. But I think it really kind of starts with just that humility before God. It says that God's mighty hand, when His mighty hand is on you and you humble yourself before Him, He will lift you up. It's pretty awesome. The last thing I want to talk about for a second, because with all this, it kind of gets really tough to, like, you know, I think we have something that's fighting against us at all times. Our second point is going to be prepared. Now, I want to read a short story real quick. Some that you guys have heard before, but I'm going to read it again, all right?
Go, Nick.
Anybody named Sarah in here? We got a couple of Sarahs. Okay. And I have a story about a zebra named Sarah. Okay? So I want to tell you a story about our little zebra friend, Sarah. One early South African morning, Sarah was grazing like normal, watching the sun rising over the eastern horizon. Earlier, she had been with the herd as they grazed in the meadow, but she wandered away. Just a bit more to eat, and she'd be good to go. But then, she heard something. A small branch cracking, or a funny rustling of the grass. Hardly noticeable to a human, the strange noise was like an alarm siren for Sarah. Fear gripped her as she realized she was being watched. But she didn't know where to run. She stood like a statue for 20 minutes. In the tall grass, two eyes stared coldly at Sarah. The lion was hungry, yet cautious. He peered through the grass, crouching low, tail down, chin near the ground, waiting. Sarah was overwhelmed by the fear of being alone, and so she turned slowly and began to move deliberately back towards the herd. She was alert, but she unknowingly turned her back to the leading lion. that Sarah heard it. A horrifying roar, a loud, terrifying sound that she could actually feel. Its purpose was to intimidate her, and it succeeded. Sarah was spooked and quickly turned her head in fright. She glanced into the grass for a split second before she spotted the charging beast. She turned and ran, but it was too late. Once moving, a 450-pound lion can cover the length of a basketball court in just over a second. The lion slammed into Sarah, sending both animals tumbling in a cloud of dust and grass. Losing all sense of direction, the panicked zebra struggled to get on her feet. Streaking through the air came the paw of the lion as the razor-sharp 2-inch long talons sliced through Sarah's skin and neck. The force of the blow knocked her off her balance again. As she fell backward, the lion bit down hard on her neck. With its teeth sinking deeply, the beast crushed her windpipe like crushing a pretzel in your hand. Sarah tried to move, but the lion's hold on her neck was unbreakable. She would be unconscious in a minute. Once unconscious, the lion would begin to devour Sarah's belly, ripping and tearing the flesh off her bones. Sarah's intestines and organs began to fall out of her body with each bite of the lion. The hungry lion would stop occasionally and lift its blood-dripping head out of the stomach of Sarah before diving in again to rip every last piece of meat off the lifeless bones of Sarah's body. Sorry, Sarah. You know, if you figure be alert and sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith, because you know that the family of believers throughout the world is undergoing the same kind of suffering. You know, Lion King and other shows like that, I think have kind of misguided us on really the power of a lion. If you saw a lion coming at you in the wild, you'd be toast. They say in order to kind of stop a lion, the first thing you got to do is stick out your arm, have it eat your arm first, because if not, you know, it'll just go straight for your neck. And so it'll give you 5 seconds extra to live, right? But other than that, if you see a if you meet a lion, there's literally zero chance. The lion is a ferocious, dangerous animal that wants to tear you apart. It says that we have an enemy in this life.
Yeah.
That enemy isn't just some like little devil on your head, on your shoulder that's trying to say, hey, like say a bad word, you know? Like, it says that the enemy is looking to devour you. You know that Satan hates you? Hates you. Wants to destroy your life. Wants to kill you. Wants to make your life, just wants to ruin it. And sometimes we're so casual. We don't give the enemy the credit that he deserves. We're idiots sometimes. You know, a lot of times with a lion, what they'll do is they'll run through the pack, they'll kind of trot the pack for a second. They'll go straight after something. They'll kind of trot through and then they'll watch the thing scatter. And they'll watch the whole herd scatter and they'll look for who is young and who is alone.
Yeah.
And then go straight for that one. You know, a lot of times we think that we can do Christianity by ourselves. I think we've gotten used to this idea. Like, I've been talking to some of the leaders in the ministry, and they said, you know what? We have kind of a concern that we feel like the meetings of the body, like TNL, like Devo, have become like casual for people. And have become something that's like not really a kind of like legitimate like lifeline in people's life. Where they're like, I don't really need everybody else. I can just kind of go do it by myself. It's me and God, right? You can try that, but Satan's coming for you. And he's gonna tear you apart if you're not ready. If you're young, if you're inexperienced, that's where you need humility more than any other time in your life. Because Satan wants to kill you. He wants to destroy you. And you need some help. You need some help big time. One of the videos we're just gonna close with is a video I thought was kind of cool. It's about basically how a buffalo gets taken or gets chased down by lions. And it's chased into a river. And you'll see actually a crocodile down nowhere, and it takes it away from the lions, takes the beast away from the lions. And you'll kind of see what happens next. The whole thing is like this was going through, but it was shown at a Japanese talk show. Okay, and so it's going to be kind of a Japanese game show in the background and things like
一度捕まってしまったが最後、幼きのうちに5匹のライオンが群がる。捕らえた獲物を陸に上げようとしたその時、ライオンの足元に注目。川の中から現れたのはワニ。バッファローの子供を横取りしに来たのだ。バッファローも取り合って持ち帰られ、互いに獲物を譲られ、そして獲物を守りきったライオンたち。しかし、この後さらなるドラマが。ライオンたちにゆっくりと歩む黒い物体。そう、先ほどのバッファローをそこにもう一つのドラマが。形勢逆転、勇ましい迫力でライオンに迫るバッファロー。奇跡のラストシーンだ。
I'm actually going to be honest. Bree was leading that video, and she showed me that one. And it was awesome. She wasn't one. Look back at the original one. What is a bridge tourist that are catching you on camera, and so you hear me in the back, oh, and it's just. Imagine catching that in the actual outfit. You know, that's a funny video. Like, I want you to kind of think about who you are in that video. Okay? Are you somebody that's been more that kind of like young buffalo? That's kind of like getting yourself away from the pack. You've been getting away from everybody else in the church. You're kind of doing things on your own, and you need to come back and really kind of get protected by everybody else. Are you one of the people in the herd that hasn't been doing a good job looking after the young and the our family? Because sometimes it's on the responsibility of all of us to look out for each other. When we have somebody that's young, or we feel like is alone, or we feel like is weak, it's our responsibility to say, "Nuh-uh, I'm coming back and fighting the line for you." You know, it's on all of us for each other. Some of you guys, I think, are still living on the Lions team, and you haven't decided to kind of go on God's team. You're still living in the world. You're still living in a place that you haven't really submitted to God. You're trying to do life your own way. You're involved in the world, in your college experience. And I'll tell you right now, there's nothing there. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of your life. And you're going to get devoured, eaten up, spit out, thrown away. Come on God's team. Where there's protection. There's hope. God really has an amazing plan for you.
Come on.
You know, God has a great plan for you for the end of the semester, but so does Satan. He has a plan for you. And in order to really kind of fight against it, you got to be really intentional. For me, last week I said, you know what, we got 3 weeks until Thanksgiving break, and I'll be with my parents, you know, and hanging out with them. And I said, you know what, these next 3 weeks are about to be epic. I was like, I'm about to just kind of slide into these next few weeks. I want to take them on like crazy. So I went on this like 25-day challenge. Where I had a list of kind of things that I was wanting to do every single day. Part of it was like pray for 30 minutes a day. Have just like a few minutes, like 5 to 7 minutes, nothing crazy, just kind of silence with God every single day. So stuff like I wanted to go out there and share my faith. Every time I stepped on campus, at least 5 people when I went out there. Every time I stepped on campus. I wanted to go on a couple of epic dates with my wife. You know, I wanted to have some really great times with some of my friends where it just wasn't like kind of like where I really intentionally put my schedule. I want to have this awesome time with my friends. I said I'm going to fast once a week. I said that I'm not going to look at media before 11 o'clock every single day. I said because I'm going into my training zone right now. You know, I want to get in the gym with Jesus. I don't want to just coast to the end and kind of sit around and hope that the lion doesn't come eat me. If you're just kind of sitting around hoping that, you're going to get eaten. You're going to get devoured. It's not a matter of if, but when. It takes intentionality to live for God.
Right.
Which one are you going to choose? Do you hate the sin in your life? Do you hate it? Do you confess it and try to get it out because you know that's just the devil's poison that's just kind of inside you, ruining your life? You hate it and you're trying to get rid of it. Have you confessed it all? Guys, we're all going through similar things. And the biggest lie is when you kind of feel like nobody else is going right. Guys, we're all going through it together. We really need to help one another. But we can't really help you unless you're going to be humble and take God's word for it. So guys, at the very end of the night, I'm going to ask you, like, who is your Lion King? Oh, no, not that one. Who will be your Lion King? Is it going to be God, where you're going to kind of listen to him, or are you going to be devoured by the other lion that's hunting you down? We all have a choice. We all need to really either commit to Jesus fully, wholeheartedly, or we need to kind of recommit to him. And go in these next couple of weeks this semester saying, I'm about to take this thing down. Let's do this. Let's have some fun. I am playing any games. We're going to the gym with Jesus. It's going to be epic. It's going to be great. Let's finish this semester as strong as possible. Not let it We're going to go ahead and pray, and then we're going to close out. God, thank you so much for Jesus, God, that he is the most amazing king that we can possibly have. God, please, Jesus tells us to pray that he says, hey, pray, keep us from temptation and deliver us from the evil one. God, we are scared of the lion, of the lion that's trying to attack us. God, we don't want to take him lightly. We don't want to just kind of walk around hoping he doesn't get us. We want to intentionally live, God, close to you in your path where we can have protection. God, please help us live humbly, live humble lives, God. Remember who we are before you, and remember that, God, we are nothing without you, God. We need you so desperately. God, please help us finish this semester extremely strong and really live the life you call us to live. We love you in your son's name. Amen.